sent the conversation out, I mean, not the conversation, when you sent the text out, uh, I don't know who started the text today, but I just like just because of like who I'm dealing with, like I just felt like I should, as far as like the logistics, and I'm like I'm dealing with the production crew, and I was like I feel like I need to be on top of it right now, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh man, I felt like I should have sent out a calendar invite or something, and like make sure this is right, like because I'm just like okay, like I gotta treat this like a show, like they're used to doing shows, and so we're talking about like even though we're just gonna have a conversation, I'm just like I just feel like, oh man, I feel like I should be on it, make sure there's not any error or anything. So, but
what time's showtime, man? What time is showtime? That's what
6:30. We're early.
We're early.
We're early.
Don't worry, the artist is still going to be late, so we can talk for at least another hour.
Marco hit spacebar.
So
we do need Marco.
So there was it's funny you're talking about the artists being late, because like during the election, like everybody was looking at Nevada, and I got on Twitter and I saw this one post or tweet, and it had a picture of Lauryn Hill, and it's like it said like there's like the caption is like the U.S. waiting on Nevada, and it's like Nevada, and then a picture of Lauryn Hill right underneath, and like I know I put it up, and some people are like, I don't get it, and I was like, oh man, you haven't heard it. Like,
you've never been to a Lauryn Hill show,
right? Like notorious, and I just
pre-show party.
Yeah,
Javier.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we did the Grammys with Demi, and Lauryn Hill sound checked,
yes,
and camera blocked, and then she never came back.
Yeah.
She never performed.
Yeah. Wait, that wasn't Lauryn Hill. I think that was Rihanna.
No, it was Lauryn Hill.
That was Rihanna because Mike was playing drums. I think it was Rihanna.
So,
all right, way to ruin my story.
just try to be factual here, man.
So wait a minute. So you said sound check and camera block. What is that?
Well, for a big show or a film show, they camera block and get all the camera angles, worked out before the actual recording. So usually you'll sound check and then they'll work on their camera blocking.
We have some really funny things that have happened over the years with the three of us in terms of camera blocking and shows, especially TV shows, because they run on a very, very, very tight schedule. Of course, concerts 90% of the times I would say kind of run on our schedule or the artist schedule, so we could kind of dictate and manipulate that. But when it comes to a TV show, Grammys or any of those, we're obviously on their time frame. There's commercial breaks, set changes. There's a lot going on. But we were in Kuala Lumpur, guys. Is that it? When we had Jakarta, we were doing Frozen.
Jakarta.
So I'll just kind of set this up. We're in Jakarta and we're doing it wasn't necessarily an award show, but it was a big TV show.
Yeah.
For the region, and I'm talking probably a few million people in the region were watching this show. And I was with Demi. I was backstage in constant communication with TC, who does her monitors. Adam was doing broadcasts, so he was in the broadcast truck. And Lenny's on stage making sure everything's getting ready. So we're just in constant communication and making sure everything's on time, everything's moving, everything's on time. And so, like I had explained before, my link to everything is Lenny. If Lenny says go, I go. We start moving Demi and all that stuff. And you'll hear a lot of terminology for us backstage when we'll say, okay, you need to start walking, meaning you need to start moving towards the stage. And so here we are, and I have a handler, a local promoter, a local TV show handler, and they're with me, and I'm telling her, like, I'm getting the go from my stage manager to say start walking. And she goes, no. We have at least another commercial break. You should stay here. I'm like, Lenny Rogers says start walking. And so I'm like, I really think we should start walking. She says, no, stay here. We still have another commercial. And I'm like, and I guess I got on radio with you, Len, and I say, hey, they're telling me to hold. And Lenny's like, I highly advise that you start walking right now.
Yeah,
and go ahead. You can pick it up.
Where's your girl? Right. Where's my girl? And I'm standing with TC. I'm like, they want her. I'm telling Javier. First, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Javier. But first, when we got there, day before, we're looking at dressing rooms. It's 2 miles away, and Javier and I are like, she needs to start walking right now. She's not even in the country, and we need to start walking her to the stage right now. I'm like, oh God, this is never gonna work, right? So go ahead, Javier. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's
no. And it's true. The dressing rooms and the holding area was really, really far away for this TV performance. And again, this is when Demi did Frozen, the Disney soundtrack song, and it was massive. I think we toured the whole
Let It Go, right?
On this one, Let It Go. Yeah, we did this we toured the planet on this one song many times over. We did every TV show you could imagine. We went everywhere on this one song. It was massive. It's Disney, it was massive. So again, Lenny said start walking, and they held me. And it got to a point where it got really sticky. Go ahead, Len. You and TC picked this part up because I wasn't inside, so I don't really know what happened.
Well, yeah, it's funny because you were with her, and on our end, like I was standing on the corner of the stage where she would come up, and I'm holding her microphone, and Lenny is at the bottom of this ramp with our playback guy. And he's going, they're telling me to go. And I didn't even have the radio. And I'm going, the only way that I can communicate is that I'm holding her microphone. And so Lenny's going.
Because everybody's wearing their in-ears.
They're telling me to go. And the thing is like, once they hit go,
play on playback.
Effects are like, it starts video, like special effects, audio, lighting. It's like the whole shooting match is going off. And so they hit the space bar is like go. And I say into her mic, she's not even fucking here. and we weren't. We were in the dressing room 2 miles away. Like we were so far away. And so as it turns out,
should I give my portion of the story now?
It was hot in the house, the broadcast, and here I am dropping the F-bomb.
So the stage manager's on his headset going. The stage manager's on his headset looking at me and broken Indonesian going like, and go. And Marco, and I'm like, he's saying go. Unless Demi's coming from the other side. And I could see Javier's super bright light. I could see that super bright light. And I'm like, oh, Marco's looking at me. I knew that we had screwed the pooch, man. I just said, oh, no, what has happened here?
So then after that, they went to commercial break. And then they pushed her out there like they were panicked. They didn't know what to do. So they had to stop everything.
We basically false started the performance,
the entire
live on TV to millions of people. It was music, like TC said, music, lights, snow, everything you could imagine started happening on stage. And the only person on stage was TC, not Demi.
Yeah.
So my view of all of this in broadcast was I was in there with the audio team, and I was mixing the audio broadcasts, and the actual broadcast people were right in the booth next to me. And when it happened, I was waiting like the rest of the guys were, and the only point of communication was TC into Demi's mic that he's holding, ready to hand to her and go on. And the band was set on stage, everything was there. I had a video monitor in front of me where I could see what was happening. I had a screen of just like a camera on the stage, like a live shot, and then I had the actual broadcast next to me, and they start doing the commotion inside. I'm sure the same thing that the guy in the headset's telling Lenny, we gotta go. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, we know what our cue is. We know that Demi is starting at her microphone. Like we know how we are supposed to start the show, and none of that's ready. And like they're like, go. So I'm like yelling at them like, this is not. It's already hard enough that we don't have radios and we don't have some of these communication devices that we all use to make things happen quickly. But that all starts happening, and so the music, all of a sudden, I just hear the music starting. So I know Marco started, and I had her fader for her vocal down because I would have brought it up into the mix when I saw her on stage. It wasn't there. But then I see movement on the meter on the console, like someone's talking into it, and I don't know if it's Demi. So the music's starting, like we should have already heard singing. So I just instinctually brought it up without listening first, right? Good idea. And then without checking it first. No, but it was so quick that I brought it up just in time for TC to go, just basically what you said, dude, she's not even fucking here. And it was just, and then I shocked, and I brought the microphone back down, and these guys behind me are looking at me like they obviously understand the F word, everybody does, and they're looking at me, and I just look in, and the guy pops his head in the broadcast booth, and I just start yelling at them like, you have to go to commercial, you have to. I'm sure at that point Lenny had already been screaming at him. Everybody was probably already yelling on stage, but they all were just looking at me, panicked, and I was like, go! And that's when they cut, and it was just like everybody just like, oh my God, that was live to millions of people.
Millions of people. So we were panicking, obviously, and
Yeah.
so here I come walking up, and, as Lenny says, with the flashlight, Demi right there in tow. We have security. We have the whole movement of the A
You're
party.
like, what's up, guys?
I'm like, hey, what's going on? So we get to the bottom of the ramp, and I just see the panic in everyone. And I knew that it had started. I knew that there was a false start. I knew we were behind the 8 ball, and like, oh man. I was ready as like, okay, here's what's going to happen, man. We're all going to get plane tickets home, and it's all going to be middle seats in coach all the way back, man. All the way back. And so I have Demi at the bottom of the ramp to go up on stage. And again, they jump to commercial. So here we have maybe 90 seconds to kind of get our heads around us and figure out what we're going to do. And so I explained it to Demi, and she just looked at me and she just kind of just nodded. And I'm thinking, this is great. This is great. We're all going to go home after this. We are going home after this. And so we get her up to the top of the stage, and the house stage manager, the TV show stage manager, just goes up to Demi and just apologizes. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she just has her microphone, and she just looks at him and shrugs her shoulders, and she goes, it's your show, buddy. And just walks on the stage to do the show. And I was like, oh my God.
It was like the complete opposite reaction of what you would expect.
Yeah.
She was so cool about it. I remember afterwards, Demi going, guys, I want everybody to know this was not on us. We were ready to go. We moved at the pace that they were. There's handlers that are bringing her, and we're following their directions. Javier's following her direction. They bring her to me, my guy, sends her up, the whole thing. But Demi, I remember Demi being super cool about the whole thing on everything, and assuring her team, hey, I realize it wasn't us. I just thought that I had mad respect for her for that, because that's kind of a big blunder right there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big one. So, yeah, TV shows, timing, it's key, man. You just never know.
Of course, they come back from commercial and we crushed it. I mean, it was like it was a great show. Well, it's like nothing happened.
Yeah, what we normally do. Now, TC has a funny story. I think we were with Demi. It was the year Grammys. Demi did. Was it a Motown thing, or was it a? I can't remember exactly, but Metallica was playing right before you guys.
When it was a tribute to Lionel Richie.
That's right, and Metallica was on right before you guys, and that was that was
that was the one with Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
that was a train wreck.
Yeah,
James Hetfield mic never worked.
No.
And they went through this whole performance that was like Metallica hadn't played on the Grammys in like it was something like 20 years or and so it's supposed to be this big gigantic thing for them. And so James Hetfield's mic just never worked. And the funny thing was Demi was performing after Metallica, so we were staged just off to stage right, and with the ear monitor packs, we already had our ear monitors in, and we were sharing a frequency with somebody from Metallica. So we were listening. We were kind of like jamming out and being like, cool, this is Metallica. But then it was like, man, where's James Hetfield's vocal? And it was awesome to see, man. He came off the stage and he was like a raging bull, man. I thought he was going to hurt someone. He was cursing and stomp. I mean, he had every right to be pissed. And then we went to the Palladium after.
Oh, that's right. I saw Metallica in person.
So
Metallica at the Palladium. It was amazing.
So it's like you watch this stuff on TV and it just seems like I'm not going to say it's always perfect. Like we've seen it, like just the Super Bowl with Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. Like those things happen, right? They get caught on live television, and it's like, I mean,
it's hard to
I guess like
more than James Hetfield's mic.
Yeah, it's true.
Go to the other singer.
I guess like our
like nobody has. There's no other microphone. Just give him a mic.
Seriously. Anything.
There has to be another mic. On
no
stage.
backup.
God, take it off the snare. Who cares?
I guess is it like a thing? Like is it like a thing of like nobody's perfect, but it's like, do these things happen more often than people actually think happen? Like with some of these just minor mistakes or errors that happen during
the stupidest
productions.
stuff happens all the time. I remember back when I was with Owl City, we played the Club Nokia in LA, and for him at that time it was like the first LA outing with his single and all that stuff. Massive show, like, and just of course it's always hyped up way more than it needs to be in LA. But it was a big show, and we go and start. And our guy who's upstage right, who plays, he's got a guitar rig, he's got a keyboard rig, he's got a xylophone rig that's mic'd up, he's got all this stuff. He probably has 25 inputs worth of stuff on his riser. And his power, this is Andy Frost, our buddy Andy Frost, learned from this mistake. He ran most of the stage power off of like basically one quad box on stage right. This kid goes, top of the set, intro music's playing, black stage, lights go up, he jumps on stage and kicks out the quad box from the distro, and it just shuts off all of the upstage power. I mean, just drum pads and his whole rig, and it was like a simple mistake, but it completely ruined the whole. Like we had to stop and start again. I mean, it was one of those just.
It's like
what's that, T?
You just never recover.
I know
it's hard. It's hard to emotionally recover from something like that. And mind you, we're the crew. I mean, I can't imagine sometimes being that artist that's out there. They're the face of it. I mean, they're the ones that we're supporting, and mistakes do happen, and it's really tough to come back from it. And you don't really know. First of all, what the outcome is going to be on the back end, ramifications of any mistake, and sometimes it's a big spotlight on you. A Grammy performance. A few years ago, back when Adele had her thing with the piano and the microphone either fell on the strings or whatever the issue was, but that was gut wrenching to watch. Like 3.5 minutes of just this microphone vibrating on the strings of the piano.
We all knew exactly what was happening.
We all know, and I'm just like, someone stop. It's like, it was so painful to watch, and you could see it on her face, and the crew, and by that point everyone in broadcast, and everyone is just cringing inside. But what do you do when it's live and you go, especially on TV performances? Man, that's a tough one.
I'll tell you what we did, Javier. You don't remember what we did after that Indonesian gig? We were sweating it, and Demi really helped us a lot. And the next morning, we got on a plane, the three of us, and went to Bali.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
It's
actually,
like, hey,
yes.
boys, this is our swan song right now. We're going to Bali.
Yeah. We went to Bali for a few days.
For the call to come. If the call's going to come, it might as well come to this place right now if they can get.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of figured that if we were going to get fired, they would have to get a hold of us in Bali, where our cell phones didn't work anyway. So whatever. Good luck finding us on the beach, and was it Holiday Beach? I forget where we were. Was it Paradise Beach? It was Paradise Beach.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Paradise Beach. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, out there nowhere.
That's awesome. You after having done like one-on-ones with you, Adam, and Javier and Lenny, I'm gonna have to get you on too, Tim. But and like hear you guys' stories, and now to like have you guys together and like to hear it all, like you guys sound like and I know, again, I haven't talked to you guys one-on-one, but just again having you together, like you guys seem like you have an awesome time and an awesome bunch to be on the road with as well. So, I think that's.
We enjoy each other. That's key. First off, enjoy the crew. That's the extended crew around us. We respect each other. I respect every one of these guys, and we'll go into battle with each other any day of the week, and we really, really have. I mean, there's been some really, really, really intense gigs where you just don't know really what's going to come out of it. I mean, are we going to be able to walk away from this with all of our gear? Is it all going to get stolen? What are we doing? How are we going to make it?
We're going to tell that China story. We're going to tell that China story in a minute, but I wanted to touch on something that you just did. Look at Adam. He can't wait to tell it.
I got pictures.
Adam's been thinking how to tell this story. The interesting part about it is that, you hear people use the word brotherhood. The military uses it, the police use it, rightfully so. It is a brotherhood. And it's kind of like coming from a big family. My mom had 7 children, and she used to, and this is kind of how it works on the road. It's like these guys, we have been a lot together, and it is a brotherhood. And it's kind of like, I can say what I want about any of these guys right here, but don't you dare say anything. Who's the first one you're looking for? Something goes down or something gets intense, you're looking around for somebody in your tribe, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. There's I don't think you ever go into a hairy situation on the road solo. You always try to have your people around you, really just to support and have justification with what you're saying and what you're doing, and the procedure that you're going through or about to go into is correct. Because there are a lot of things that happen, mostly that you just don't get any sleep, right, guys? And you're so tired, and you get faced with such challenging decisions to make on any given day. And sometimes some of them can be life or death. Like, is this stage safe enough to be on? I mean, if we want to talk about the Chinese show, you're like, are we safe to be on this space, and you're tired, you haven't slept, it's 3 a.m, and you're like, what should we do? And there's many a times where it would be us powwowing, on the corner of the stage somewhere, going, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And, we have to really be honest and open and trust one another to really be able to make it through some of these situations. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not just, the China story aside, it's like we have literally walked into a venue many times before where nothing has been, nothing's been done prior. The gear isn't there. There's nothing is there to do a show, and we have in that day wrangled all the pieces to give shows to like tens of thousands of people, not just like a barbecue of 50 people, like massive. I mean, I'm thinking oh gosh, was it where did I get the manicure with Danny?
It was Cambodia or
in the Philippines, when we did the Philippines with where TC and I had to mix together at the same console in front of house.
No,
and
that was Cambodia.
Was it Cambodia?
Yeah.
I mean, just like we should have contractually walked into that place and gone, nope, and just turned around and said, like, no, we did not sign up for this. Like, this is not what you agreed to, but we somehow made that happen. And like, you would think that while doing that, the guys and gals you're with would just have the shittiest attitude, and people just like, God, get me out of here. But somehow, like, we're all able to just like, luckily, you know, just be with each other and be able to feed off each other and vent and all.
I think I've ever seen.
It was the biggest stage.
Not even exaggerating. It was like a half a mile walk to the dressing room. From front of house to backstage was like a quarter of a mile.
But it looked like a Kiss production from '78.
It was pyro. There was everything.
And we were like, you got any microphones? They're like, no, for sure, we don't have any of those. Like, they had not even the most basic things to make that show happen. I mean, there's at least a half a dozen others that I can think of where we just and luckily, I'll say, like, luckily for the artist, you know, there's always the old adage, like, we wouldn't be there without the artist. But I mean, luckily for the artist, and I know Demi appreciated it, obviously, because I do specifically that show, Cambodia, remember her being like, oh my God, you guys, high fives all around. It was like, but like, we just rallied together and said, like, wouldn't it be something if we could like make this happen? And we just did. I mean, it was a great show. It was, you know, on paper it was awful, but to the people it was amazing. So
afterwards, we're in the shuttle. Javier, you can jump in any point at this, buddy. We're in the shuttle. We're on the grounds of the venue, and they're driving in circles around the grounds, and the gates are locked, and they won't even let us out of this hellhole. Correct?
Absolutely.
The guy stops. Javier gets out of the shuttle and just starts walking across the field. We don't know where he's going. He's gone.
It was 45 minutes of us just driving in circles.
What had happened, Cliff? What had happened was that there was so many people at the show, and they were letting the pedestrians, like any festival or any show or anything like that, kind of leave. But you got to imagine crowd control in Cambodia, and it was a little challenging in that. And the other side of it is a normal loadout. We would have, semis, and we'd have all kinds of other stuff, but we're in Cambodia and we just have what we would call a fly pack, which is very limited gear. And some of it didn't even show up to the show. So we were packed up and ready to go within probably 30 minutes. We were leaving before probably some of the audience was actually leaving the ground. So when I said we were ready to go, we all jump in the van, we're ready to go, and the van is trying to get us out, but they had locked the gates to.
Dude, you mean we were ready to go? Get us out.
Ready to go.
We weren't just like, yep, ready to go.
And so they had locked. They were funneling all the audience out of one, which is the entry gate. They were funneling them out of that gate, and so they would not let us, the artist team, out of any of the gates. And so Lenny's not exaggerating. When we drove, I think, to every single gate around in circles until I got out of the van and just started walking. It kind of reminded me of it reminded me of remember the end of Kung Fu, Lenny? You remember that?
He just starts walking.
With David Carradine, who used to just walk off to
the end of Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk.
We're like, where's he going? He's just walking off into just starts walking with no, I'm like, what?
Javier just drops his tattered shirt and just keeps walking around the road. He's just done.
They broke him. No, what I was doing is I was insisting on a gate getting open, and which I got open.
You got to get open.
Most of the time, we'll get my way on that one.
Yeah, we got up to Javier's gate and the thing was bent like that.
So they
But
didn't
you
open
guys-
the gate. You.
Yeah, Javier mentally opened it.
You guys might remember on the flight home the next day, Demi was on the flight and literally hand wrote
She wrote those
everybody in
notes.
first
Yeah.
class. Hand wrote everybody a note.
Yeah.
And Holly and Jill brought it back. And I
Mhm.
still have mine. Javier was asleep. They dropped it on Javier's lap. And as we're getting off the plane, I said, "Did you get the note?" He goes, "Come on, I thought it was you guys." No, I didn't get the note. And I said, "She wrote that." He goes, "What?" I go, "That Demi wrote that. She wrote one for all of us." And you turned going against traffic.
Grabbed
Let me
it.
go get this note.
It's like, "Excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me." Like you thought it was us joking, threw it on you.
Yeah, no, she was very nice. She wrote us,
That was a
she
sweet
hand
note.
wrote us all a thank you note on I think it was like, you know, the Sky Mall back page.
No, it was her,
awesome.
Yeah, it
I
was, a
was
little
looking at
promo
mine the
thing.
other day, and it had like where she had scribbled out some words and then made a little in parentheses, "Oops, turbulence." And I'm like, I was on that plane. It wasn't no turbulence, honey.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, what's this?
That's
Yeah.
That's that show.
That
Chris
is that
Smith.
show. You're right.
Cambodia.
Mark Southern. Oh.
So Javier,
Yeah.
just one more little reminder. You and I and Chris Smith, we also went for a midnight focus, and he and I, we landed at the hotel, instantly dropped and went to take Chris Smith out there. You and he and I
In China or Cambodia? Well, every city we did, but which one are you talking
was
about?
in China. Remember
Yeah.
that outdoor thing?
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
that we had no catering or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we dropped Chris Smith, and we were there about an hour and a half looking around trying to figure it out, and had to leave Chris Smith for a midnight focus with some people that did not speak, and I just remember the look in his face, like, you're leaving me? We're like, yeah.
We're gonna go back to the hotel and sleep.
We didn't pick
just-
your job.
Driving away from him, I just felt this like, that poor guy, like, are we ever going to see him again?
I have to say, I don't really remember. What did we take? China Southern Air or something like that, or China Western Air? So it was something like that. I don't remember the main city that we flew into, but then we did this connection and we went deep.
Wasn't it
Deep.
Wuhan? It was Wuhan, wasn't it?
It may have been.
No, I'm serious. I thought it was.
And so we went deep into China. And so we landed at basically a regional airport in China. And I want to say it's maybe midnight when we finally get there, coming from I don't even know where, probably Cambodia or something like that, right? And so we land at midnight, and we're thinking 9 times out of 10 we get in a car or van, whatever, takes us straight to the hotel. We're in the hotel about 30 minutes or something like that. I want to say it was a 2-hour drive from.
That's where TC got sick.
Yeah, it was so windy and so just dirt roads out in the middle of nowhere. And the further and further and further away we get from that small town, it was just getting more and more sketch. I'm like, I don't know what we're getting ourselves into. And it was actually got to a point where I think our load in was something like 3 a.m. We had set it for that, thinking that we would be able to go to the hotel, take a shower, get some rest, and then go to the 3 a.m. load in. But it was got to the hotel, dropped our bags, got back in that van, and went for another hour drive to the venue. So I've never been so far removed, so remote ever. I mean, it would be like doing Coachella, but not cool, but landing at LAX and then having to make that drive and just in the middle of the night. And it was brutal. It was brutal.
Landing in PHX.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very.
TC, you got really car sick on that drive to the hotel. I remember that. That was one of your famous get me out of this van trips.
That is wow.
TC gets very car sick.
We all pile into like this like bus, and we're laughing and having a blast like we always do. And she's laughing, and she's never with us. And she goes, man, this is so fun. We should travel like this all the time. And I go, Demi, we do.
We do. You
We
don't.
do.
Right.
We always travel in a pack.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like, because I don't know, but it seems like you guys have uh, a relationship with the artists, like as far as like it's not just you guys come in, you guys and set up, and you don't like there's zero. And I know doing in your position, Javier, you interact with the artists on some level, but it seems that it's not just like on the creative putting together the show or just strictly business. Like there's a bit of a personal relationship as well. Is that correct? Or
I would say of
like as far as like just like you know as like you don't just know them as an artist, like you kind of know them as a person a little bit, not saying like like your best friends or anything, but
oh no, absolutely,
yeah.
and you well, a little backstory. TC and I shared the same job for a long time. I was a monitor engineer and before I became a production manager, and TC, God bless him, has stuck with being a monitor engineer. And having that, being a monitor engineer and having that connection with artists and the band and kind of like all of that is key, because you need to build a certain level of trust, and you need to build a certain level of open, honest communication. And so for the years and years of my career of being a monitor engineer and just being able to walk up to the artist and just have a very direct, frank, open, honest conversation without having stars in my eyes or being intimidated or anything like that, I hope has kind of helped me kind of navigate through my career to be able to say, okay, I could walk up to the artists that I work with and have these open conversations. And I would say this team, these guys here on this call all feel the same way, because they can walk up to the artist and have that open communication and kind of have that open dialogue. And it's important that you do and have that honest, open conversation. And within that, obviously builds trust, and it builds, a different layer of relationship. They're not just your boss. I mean, there are some that you work for, you do a few gigs with, and you may move on. But some you have relationships with for, a very long time. I know Adam has had a long relationship with Christina. Christina Perry has been a very long friend. TC, you've worked with some artists for ages and ages and ages, long stints, and obviously Lenny as well, and you build this level of trust, and you have these long-standing relationships with these people. So yes, you may not be sitting at Thanksgiving dinner with them, and you may not be sharing funny texts with them every day or anything like that, but when you're on the stage and you need that, they need that trust, and they look over at you and they either smile or give you that wink, and they just know that everything's okay that day because you're there. You're there representing them. Right, Len?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's important to them to walk in and see familiar faces also. People gawking at them all the time. They want to look around and say, hey, come here for a second. I've got a question. You might not have the answer, but, and I've said that to everybody that the four of us that tour with at one point or another, which is, if there's an issue, let me know ahead of time so I can get out in front of it. Don't let it fester. Tell me what I even said to Demi, I've said it to Selena. I mean, the list goes on, which is what's going on. If you see something you don't like, just give me a heads up so I can fix this ahead of time. Yeah. And then so we don't see it anymore. And you walk in the next day and it's how you want it. But don't let it fester. Don't let it get to a point to where you're irritated with it. What's going on? What do you want to see? What don't you want to see?
I feel like part of the thing that works in that whole equation is that we are able to fix these problems, but even more so, like what Lenny was saying, like we have Lenny as the one who's solving those types of problems. And like Javier fixes his, different types of problems, his own type, and Lenny and TC fixes his, and we all have our things, but we follow those chains of command so that it's still a professional outfit, and there's consistency, and the artist always knows that if they're standing on stage, they know where Lenny's at, they look to him, they get their things fixed, or at least they know that Lenny will then reach out to one of us that needs to. I mean, it's common. I mean, my radio's going off and it's Lenny during a show, and hey, Max wants to hear this, his guitar, or he's hearing this. Or this sound? Do you hear it as well? And he's kind of relaying these messages, and you can trust that system's going to work. So, and it's important that we see a lot of acts, and we have a lot of fellow crew, like friend groups that we know that it's just kind of a little more messy, and it's just like not how we work. We just like the knowing that the equation's always going to be there. We're always following that.
The relationship isn't just within the crew. The relationship is with the artists as well. We're all a team. Let's be honest. I mean, it has to be a unit. It has to be a team. And that extends to management. It extends to everything. It's the whole operation, because if it's not, then things just start falling apart. Everyone starts doing their own little things for themselves and not for the greater good of the show. And that's where it starts unraveling quickly. We did a run of shows. We did a festival run with St. Vincent a couple years back, and I know you guys know we were hitting, like, just day after day after day. We were hitting different festivals, and there was, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 in a row that we hit, and I hadn't really seen Annie St. Vincent at all. Like, I would just see her, when she got to stage. And so we hit like maybe day number 4, festival number 4, which could have been about, a week and a half worth of stuff. And she comes up on stage, music. I mean, she was running a little late. Music had already started. We said go. She looks at me, and we've had a relationship for a really long time. And I know where Lenny is, and I'm about to put her on stage, and she just looks at me, and she just gives me a little thumbs up and a wink. And all I did was just nod, and she just walked right out on stage, and she just knew within 1 second and one nonverbal interaction that everything was fine. Everything was fine. Yeah. We're going to go out and we're going to do this, and those are the relationships, Cliff, that you have these working relationships that are so deep and so strong with artists, and not just the lead artist. It can be anyone on stage, anyone. We're there to support them. Any band member, could be a dancer, it could be anything. It's just, we are there as that support team to give them the best platform possible, to do the best possible for the audience to have an amazing time.
Well, maybe not
amazing experience. Of course, Steve.
Of course.
And honestly, I learned that the biggest mistake you can make in a pinch like that is to bullshit them and come up with an answer. And I learned directly from an artist, and I can't say who. Look, it taught me that what they want to hear is the truth. And I've learned to say over the years, look, I don't have that answer for you. I can get it for you. And next time you see me, I'll have the answer for that. But I'm not going to make something up because I don't know what the answer is. And I think they appreciate that transparency, which is, okay, this guy's not going to shoot from the hip and make something up to make me feel good and have it not be the truth. He's going to go find out, bring it back to me, and we'll sort it out. I mean, who doesn't appreciate that? And it took a down center telling me that. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's wonderful. That's in life, who doesn't want to hear that?
Sure.
Don't have the answer. I can get it for you.
Yeah.
Instantaneous.
Well, I think of the creative side, like just with Annie Clark, St. Vincent again, like, I mean, when that whole thing started, Cliff, you and I talked about it a little bit, but like, Hav, you and I we were only there in the beginning to be honest with her. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like she was just dumping. She had a bucket full of parts and no instruction manual, and she just dumped it out on the table, and like she was just like, what do you guys think? And it's just like we had to be brutally honest with her, and of course I don't mean like, hey, this isn't good. I mean, this is amazing. How do we filter through this and like pick the best of the best and then give it a little taste of our own and figure out what, you know, how it all is going to work. But to be able to like sit there in like the very beginning rehearsals when we're just going through this stuff and there's nothing's aside, like to be able to honestly sit there and be like, I don't know, I'm not feeling this part, or like you have this part but the sound's not right, to be able to like tell the artist that, especially someone like her who, but it's like it was total, things were on track, you know, and it was never anything that we were like, what are you doing? Which is how you know a project is like has got some life, when you're not walking away at the end of a day being like, ugh, I don't know, dude.
Annie's favorite saying was the best idea wins. Anyone in the crew, anyone in the band, anyone you put it on the table, the best idea wins. And so it was a very open dialogue. But but for someone like TC, like, you want to talk about some intimate relationships with artists and building those over time and really having their trust and faith. It's that man, you know.
We're going to talk about brutal honesty.
For being as rough around the edges as he is, you know, I've seen some artists just.
Lenny, I didn't hear you. What was that?
I mean, did anybody? I don't know. Who's that singer? What was that song? Mandy. Who's that guy to sing Mandy? Is there a clean version of that guy? You know, TC, you know what I'm talking about, right, brother? Is there a clean version of the Man?
Tim, can you please tell that story?
It's the best.
It's been long enough. I mean, it's been long enough. I mean, your contract has to be done by now, right?
Is he still alive? I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know that story.
I can work for him. It's also, you're not even honestly, let me just say this before you decide if you're going to tell it or not. It's not, you honestly could it's not like people are going to be like, oh, him, yeah, I've heard that. Like, it's really not that kind of so you're not slandering him. It's just the whole situation is just amazing.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. So we're talking about Barry Manilow, and it was a difficult.
Set us. Come on.
So he was going through monitor engineers like weekly, and so I had got a phone call, and they flew me to Vegas, and the first day I went down to the venue. Who's dinging? And I couldn't get in, so I went to the pool, and turned out that all they wanted me to do that night was just see the show. So it was for one day, and they sent me home, and it took about a month, and I never heard from anyone, so I thought that was the end of it. And then I get another call to go back, and there's 3 other monitor engineers all trying to get the job. I've never been in any kind of environment like that, where there's the current sitting monitor engineer who knows he's about to get fired, and then there were 3 of us that were all there to win the gig. So the Cliff Note version is that I got it, and it was a terrible experience. Just, he's a very, very difficult guy, and every night after the show, they would bring me to his dressing room, and he would tell me everything I was doing to ruin his career. So I'm not really built out of what it takes to be like, just to be spoken to the way he would speak. It was really hard. Like,
you're not going to speak to me that way.
So anyway, I knew it was coming. I mean, I lasted a few months, you know, but I knew it was building up inside of me. And we kept having this conversation about his stage monitors. Believe it or not, Barry Manilow, he writes the songs. And his stage monitors were excruciatingly loud. And it was bothering the band. It was just very difficult. So we kept having this battle back and forth about this. And so finally one day I'm at my limit, and he says to me to turn up the wedges. And I did. And so eventually he gets up and he starts walking toward me. And so I just push back, and he comes over and he says to me, "Where are the wedges?" Which are the stage monitors. And I said, "Right there." And he says, "Where?" I said, "Right where it says wedges." And so he hits the fader all the way to the top, which is like plus 20 dB or something. And he
Much
goes
louder.
It's way louder, yeah. So he goes out to his piano, and he starts playing. And he, about 30 seconds later, stops and says, "TC, can't you hear how loud these wedges are?" And so I grabbed my talkback mic, cleared my voice.
2 hands.
And I said, "Yes, I can fucking hear them, and it's ridiculous." And I said, "Your entire band hates you, and you don't even know it." Oh my God. I said, I just diarrheaed for 30 seconds. And then he just quietly got up from the piano and walked off the other side of the stage. And the stage manager came over and informed me that I was no longer needed. And that was the way it ended with me and Barry.
KT, I think one final thing that I think that you forgot, that you always told this, is that you went up on stage to start tearing down the set, and the band all came up to you and came around you, were like, "Dude, that's awesome." Yes. They were doing that, and then the one guy just kind of went like, "You know you're fired though, right?"
The guitar player, he goes, "Dude, that's awesome." And then he looks at me and he goes, "Clearly you're fired." I was like, "Yeah."
But they didn't let you go for another week or so, right? Didn't you do some gigs after that?
They didn't make me go home.
You were still in Vegas.
I was in my hotel room for another couple nights, but yeah,
let him stay.
My employment was terminated. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, what really happens in this, I mean, especially in someone like T's position, is that you build a relationship, whether it's a good relationship or not, whether it's a good working relationship or not, and you build this relationship, and it could be like having a relationship with anyone, you know, it could be like a family member or a spouse or whatever, and it can hit, and it could just be like thunder, or it could just be like lightning, and you just don't know where it's going to go, because both of you put so much faith in each other on being able to do a good job and really make it go, you know. And it could, there's definitely plenty of stories besides T's stories of monitor engineers just truly losing it.
Yeah.
just hitting a breaking point.
We met. See, do you remember the first night we met?
First time I met you?
Before we were in Niagara Falls doing, yes, Niagara Falls New Year's with Demi.
Yeah.
Minus 15, and we're playing outside.
Minus 15?
It was ridiculously cold in Niagara Falls. It was so cold the falls were frozen, and
they were
outside.
Literally, the waterfalls were frozen.
We're outside. TC's there. He's warming up to everybody. I don't know who you're replacing or what the deal was, but it was.
I was replacing Javier.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was moving out of that chair. I couldn't do it anymore.
We're there. TC's like, you know, TC's doing his thing, this and that, and it's we're taping it. And Javier says, "Hey, we're walking. You know, do your rounds with is the band out there? We'll put the band out. Checking with video, checking with lights, checking with everybody, all the techs." I stick my head in the side tent and I go, "Hey, TC." I go, "You ready?" He goes, "You bet." And I go, "Hey, don't fuck up." And then I just shut the thing. And I take about 3 steps away. I go, "Man,
You said, man, he's a really nice guy. Oh.
Oh, and it went on to be what it is now.
That was like 7 years ago, coming right up.
So
Yeah, it's
you
funny
guys,
how-
so the four of you have been a team for 7 years now.
No, well,
Me.
TC and I go back the furthest, and another comical story. But I was actually being fired, and I didn't know I was being fired
Oh.
and I was doing monitors, and I had a disagreement with the tour manager, and he reached out to TC. This is before I knew TC, obviously, to come in and replace me. And I had no idea I was being fired, and TC had no idea that he was coming into a job to replace someone, and that person was still on the job. So I was still there, and TC comes flying in, and he's standing next to me at the mixing console with the suitcase, and I'm like, "Who's this guy?" And he's looking at me like, "Who are you?" So, and I can't even tell you what year that was, T. I mean, that was
2009.
There you go. God, 2009.
Yeah.
And so we go that far back, and then TC and I, we obviously crossed paths then. And since we had the same job, you could really never have two of us on the same gig. So we knew each other. We became friends after that incident, obviously. Highly respected his work and his work ethic and who he was. I moved on and kind of went on. And then I was working with Selena when Lenny came to me from a mutual friend of ours, Brian Jenkins, and you guys were on
Jenkins.
Character together. Yeah, and we were looking for a stage manager, and Lenny was trying to crawl out of a hole that he had buried himself in after Carrie Underwood, and he came to rehearsals, and as Lenny said, we had the same watch, so he knew that we were going to have a long-standing relationship. He walks,
I
he
tell
goes,
you
nice
something.
watch. I'm like, nice watch.
Yeah, and
Because I
we
sure
did a
do.
gig, I don't know, Javier, I can't remember which one. I think it was SIA. We were on SIA, some arena. We're loading in. We're in a pretty good groove, and somebody from the house came out on the floor, and she approaches me. Gosh, it's like right into load in. She says, "Well, she sees me kind of doing my thing. She goes, 'You must be Javier. Like, you're a take charge kind of guy. You must be Javier.' I go, no. I go, no. I go, Javier's dark hair, he's wearing glasses, and he's probably the only guy in the venue with a $400 pair of shoes on." This little chick walks away, and I see her walking around the arena just looking at everybody's shoes.
And she comes up to me. She goes, "Are you Javier?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, I thought so." They were $400, Lenny, but not each.
I say, he's the only guy in here with nice shoes on at 8 in the morning.
So Lenny and I started working on Selena together. We did a number of years together with Selena, and then we rolled over to Demi, and then Adam, while we were out on tour with Demi, Christina Perry was opening for Demi, and night after night after night, I would go out there and listen and watch Christina Perry, and it was just an amazing show, and she sounded phenomenal every single night. It was just consistently good, and it got to a point where I realized that the Demi show didn't sound as good, and so I convinced some people to make a change and bring Adam into the Demi camp, and so he came over to us. And I had already moved on from monitors from Demi, and obviously on that New Year's gig out in Niagara Falls, I had called TC up to replace me, this time knowing that he was going to be there.
In hindsight, I think the only reason that I even got hired is because you saw the weather.
It was cold. It was cold.
You do.
TC showed up in shorts.
He's from Boston. He's like, what? Is this
You're
weather?
like, I think I want to work in an office.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. But yeah, TC and I crossed paths many a times, and obviously we hadn't worked together, and but I just knew who he was, and everyone raved about T as a monitor engineer. And I know that chair, I know that position, and I knew it well, and everyone spoke highly of him. And so, yeah, reached out, and then he became part of Demi's team with the rest of us. And then the rest of us were let go, and TC still with Demi.
That was 5-6 years ago. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, T's been with her ever since. I mean, kind of kept a very, very, very long relationship with her. And she's an amazing, amazing person, and she's a quirky personality. But TC can just stand toe to toe with her and shoot the shit. And very few people that I've ever seen Demi be completely comfortable around, and I think we've all seen it with her and TC. It's just a comfort level that you can't even imagine, you know.
Yeah, it's
good.
Yeah, whatever.
That's a good one. She takes good care of me.
I think I wasn't there, but you told us a story. There was Demi had come down. Maybe Lenny, you were down there. She had come down. We had a tall stage with an elevator system in it, and she had come down from the elevator post show. The end of the show is where it lowered, and I guess you guys had some technical problems on the show, and so you go back underneath the stage to where normally no one was allowed but her wardrobe and makeup team, and you went down there and you were trying to get the information of what went wrong with either the microphone or in-ears or something like that, and she's just talking to you like you're one of the girls, and she just starts taking her clothes off. Like you're like, whoa, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
No.
She literally took her pants off, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Demi. Like,
I have a daughter.
And she was like, oh my God. You know.
A comfort level of just being one of those truly inner circle people. Yeah. You know, Demi had a group of girls that were women with her that were just her crew of hair and makeup and wardrobe and assistants, and T rolled right up into that, and they didn't even blink an eye.
It's a tough group of girls too, because I had from that Christina Perry tour, the first run where I met all you guys, yeah, I mean everybody on that crew was just a solid unit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean there were some oddballs like there are in every massive arena tour, but getting to know everybody and Demi's girls, I mean Holly and Jill and Caroline and all of that. I mean they were definitely a tight bunch. Like you mess with them, like you might as well just go. It's just But they had everybody. They had the best interest of the group in mind. So, they're the protectors of the queen. I know for me, I'll say too, like. Again, having started my relationship with Lenny for you as an example, like my role on that first tour with you guys was, I was production manager in front of house for Christina. So what happened behind the scenes wasn't so much of my concern, but whatever happened from the dock to the stage to front of house and anything that involved our production and our show. I mean, I worked with many stage managers in my time before that on, amphitheater tours and arenas and stadiums, all that stuff. But when we all met Lenny, our crew with Christina, that's where we truly learned, the real do's and don'ts of what it is to be a professional headlining, and not only to be a professional support act, which was just something we had to master, but to set your goals to becoming the guy or the girl, just the person, the top of the chain. And I remember it was very apparent to us. I mean, the second day, I don't really remember like our very first talks, Lenny, but I just remember the huddle with my team after that first show and being like, hey, like this is the guy, like this is our chance, this is the guy, this is the one. You see, you can tell. I mean, anybody like Cliff, you'll get to know Lenny more and more as the years go on, but it's like Lenny's a very spiritual guy. I mean, he's a very, the aura, the presence around him is you just don't really have to say much. And it's probably after years of knowing him, but even from those initial days, you just know the way he's talking, how he's talking, who he's talking to, and the way he's talking to them. Like they're all little tricks of the trade that you learn along the way. And I'm super grateful for that, because it not only helped me, but it helped these other guys on my team who were younger than me at the time and who really needed, for what lack of a better term, that father figure on the road, somebody to kind of, figuratively give you the bop on the back of the head, like, hey, like don't do that again. Like, trust me.
True professional guidance. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Here's what you say to the steward at the end of the day, not because you're bullshitting him. And that is like the key point with Lenny. Like you're not. There's no BS. But when you go and butter someone's bread, like, yeah, you're buttering someone's bread. You're not like, you are doing something to kind of help a situation, but when you can tell that it comes from a good heart and someone who has no ulterior motive, and there's just no, I don't know, there's nothing else behind what's going on. We really learned a lot. And some of these guys who were in that crew have gone on to do massive stuff. And Lenny, I'm not trying to brown nose you, but it is little. There's just so many details about what our life is, and the communication factor is the biggest thing. And by communication, I mean sometimes not saying anything, like just communication, whatever it is. I brought up the story when Cliff, you and I were doing our kind of pre-interview. I brought up the whole story about the show with Sia and on stage in the UK, the last festival with Bieber's stage and the stage manager come out and freaking out and I mean, I'll let you guys chip in, but the bottom line, the cliff note of the story was we showed up. Where was it, Hav? Middle of nowhere field of. Remember, we did two identical.
Yeah, it was like the Verizon or something, or I forget what festival it was, but it was pouring rain. Pouring rain.
Similar festivals that were each day a day apart in two different cities, and this was, I believe, this was the final show of that run, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Or the second to last, or something. Either way. We were there. We were like 7 a.m, flew in. We get shuttled to the site. We're the first on. There's nobody there. There's a security guard who's asleep at the post. We're driving in, and we're just going in to scope the scene and just figure out what we're looking at, stake our claims on stage, and just get everything dialed in. And we showed up and walked on stage, and no one was there. I mean, nobody. Tarps were on everything. Yeah, it rained so bad the night before, and we get on, and we're all tired, and we're just kind of mulling around. And there's probably 10, 15 of us or something like that. And all of a sudden, this big, tall, just, I don't know, this guy just, what the fuck is going on here? He's coming on stage, and this guy is red. He's just red hot, and he's loud, and he's echoing through this massive festival stage, like out into the fields. I mean, this guy his presence was unbelievable. Like, and none of us were ready for it. He came in thinking we were starting to call the shots, and we want this, we want that, and he just starts going on a tear. And our carpenter, our lead carpenter, this is with Sia, our lead carpenter Min goes up, and Min had known the guy. I believe he had.
The night before they were there.
Night before they did the advanced load in.
Yeah, so Min had been in the night before to scope stuff out. They had kind of made a rough plan, but again, our crew, what we do with any act we're with, we go in and it's like what Javier does to why he's the best at what he does is he gets all of us together and knows that all of us know exactly what we have to handle to get our job done, which we all know is just, we're all pieces to this puzzle. So he hires the right people to go in there and cover their things. He's not going to micromanage you. He's not going to do anything. So we had gone on that stage to just, hey, audio crew, vamonos, let's go. Let's go, let's go over here in this corner and figure out what we're going to do. Lighting team over here, video over here, carpenters over here. So that's all we were doing. We weren't like shitting where we were going to eat or doing it. Like we were just scoping it out, walking around. So this guy comes in hot and he's just on fire. And so Min, who, he's just got this spiciness to him too. He's trying to reason with this guy. Just please, sir. I remember just please, sir, please, just listen to me, please. And, no, yeah, fuck it. I'm not going to give it. He is just, this guy's ready to just shut the whole thing down. I mean, just like, you're done. I'm done with you all. You've disrespected my stage. You've disrespected my space. I'm done. I'm done with this. And Min is just up against him. Please, sir, please. And so just then, I think Javier, you guys go on with the story. Do you remember? I don't remember the exact sequence. I remember what was said.
I saw this interaction happening, and this kind of goes back to the top of the conversation when I said, a lot of things happen when you're extremely tired and you have to make very quick decisions, and you have to make decisions that hopefully are the right decisions, because as Lenny would say, within the first minute is going to dictate your whole day and how your day is going to go, whether it's going to be an easy day or a hard day. And so I kind of walk up on stage a little behind the boys, and they had already been looking around, sniffing around the stage, kind of seeing where stuff was going to go. And I saw this interaction happening with the festival stage manager and our carpenter, and I saw it about to just get really heated really fast. And so I just kind of reached over Min, and I kind of by the back of his collar, and Lenny, and I pulled him back, and Lenny just slid right in like a little ninja almost. You would never know, and took over the conversation. And I think this is where you're going, Adam, because
so basically you
after that.
So you basically, Min's still pleading. You see Lenny walking over right as Lenny is like 2 feet away. You didn't say a word. You're standing behind Min, and you just reached out and you grabbed him by the back of his head like a mama cat to a baby cat. And you just pulled him. He was just like, but please, and you pulled him out. And Lenny, I know because I was seeing it from that angle. Lenny just dips right up in front of the guy with his hand sticking out. And he meets this guy's eye line about 6 inches from his face, and he goes, "Hey, man!" And he kind of looks at his hand, and the guy looks down at Lenny's hand. He goes, "Lenny Rogers, nice to meet you." And like, it's no joke. The guy was instantly like, "Oh," and then Lenny just goes, "Listen, I'm not here to talk. I personally am not here to talk to you about all the things that you have said. I wasn't here for those conversations. I don't know what to say. All I'm interested in is where we go from here." And the guy literally, he had to just shake his head like a cartoon, like you're not fighting me anymore. What's going on? And Lenny just did some Navajo trick of just like, and I'm not even kidding. The guy comes and Lenny kind of puts his arm around him, and they just start walking. They start walking backstage, talking very quietly the whole time. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, blah, 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 okay. And so the guy goes out the upstage right door, backstage, can't see him. Lenny comes back. Everyone's just like silent, like jaws to the floor, just like, oh my God. Because we just honestly felt that feeling like this guy was going to ruin our entire day. And like the Today Show hasn't even started yet. And like, so all of a sudden, within 2 minutes, the guy comes in through the upstage left door with a case of water and a bag of chips and some fruit and all that stuff.
and a hot tea for Lenny.
He's got a hot towel and he's got everything. He comes Lenny I'm not kidding. He comes, true story, he comes up to each and every station, the audio guys, the video guys, Radu's over there like, hello. And he's greeting everybody, and he's giving people water, and he's apologizing for what he just said. I mean, he wasn't even talking to me, and he's coming up and like, like, can I get you anything? Like, whatever you guys need, you let me know. I apologize for my attitude. Like, this was not the guy who apologizes for his attitude. Like, he wasn't that person. But like Lenny went into him like a spirit and just like took control. But like, all joking aside, it was honestly, it was one of those just brilliant. Like, I'll never forget that moment of just like so many factors. It's not just like how Lenny said what he said and what he said, but like Javier's cue of just knowing like, dude, Min, you're done. Like, no offense, but like the expert's going in, and it was just, and that's exactly what needed to happen, and it happened, and we probably had one of the best. I mean, honestly, probably was one of the best shows ever. I mean, it was an amazing day.
When Lenny like kind of grabbed the guy and kind of took him off to a conversation, it was kind of like, was it Bill Murray at the Lost in Translation? Kind of like when he says it at the end, he whispers in her ear, like, you never know what he says. We never know what Lenny says.
I did. You know what I said to him?
What?
We're taking a walk, and I'm looking at him. I go, he had on this bitchin' bomber jacket from the gig. I go, man, I'd like one of those in a size large if you could swing it, man. I still got the jacket.
I
got the jacket. At the end of the night, he's bringing me up a bomber jacket from Britain. You know, with the gig, I was like, no, nothing to it. I didn't show these guys.
But where people would have just, most people would have just, I mean, it's hard to know without being in the situation. People would have just snapped at this guy. You mother, you know, like just back and forth, and the day just turned, because you know this is what this guy did. You honestly, when you stop, you empathize, and we've all run shows, like we know how it goes. That guy has probably taken crew after crew after crew at that festival of just assholes. You know what I mean? Like, just people that just, they don't care about him. And finally, it was like one group that like is like, hey, dude, you know, we're headlining this basically. I mean, we were right before Bieber, but like, we still care. We still want you guys to have a good show. We will bend over as however we need to make sure that we walk out of here. And people, I mean, that's like our MO. People walk out being like, you guys were like, please don't leave, you know. And it feels really good when that happens, because I don't know, you want vibes to be good when you leave. I mean, you don't want people talking about you. It's just not worth it, you know, unless they deserved it. But
Lenny and I have always, I think, starting our working relationship many years ago, but we, you know, there's many a nights where we sat in the back of the bus and really kind of carved out our not just our personal working relationship, but I wouldn't want to say appearance, because that seems like it would cheapen it, but how we would want to present ourselves, not just as professionals, but have the crew present themselves and make the artist shine in the best light possible. And so we've really, really worked on carving that out of presenting a really positive attitude and really pushing a positive work agenda out there. Right, Len?
Yeah, I mean, and it goes back to surrounding yourself with people you have confidence in, period. That's all there is to it. I mean, you surround yourself with people that you know, as tired as you are and as screwed up as things are, they're not going to blow your, and it's like I've said to people before on our crew that we travel with, if I'm not freaking out, there's nothing out here worth freaking out over. There's not. It doesn't always go that way. We all know that. TC, you know that better than anybody. It doesn't always go that way.
You know, it's funny when you talk about like the people, you know, you guys representing the artists, and I'm just sitting here thinking about it, you know, because, you know, talking to you guys and you guys doing what you do, and, you know, also looking at it from a fan standpoint, you know, as fans, you know, we look at the artists, and, you know, you go to the shows, again, a lot of people don't really think about the team that is helping put that together, but on obviously being in the industry and thinking about the other side of it, right? The people that you guys are dealing with on that side, and, you know, how, where like, yes, they're dealing with the artists to an extent, but they're more so dealing with you guys. And so that whole thing about the representation, like, it, you know, it's like there's two sides to the same coin, right? You know, the artist is on the face on one side, and then like you guys are like the face on the other side. So just thought that was when you said that, that's what came to mind for me.
It is key, and Adam and I work kind of like on the flip side, where we will represent a show, a festival, a production, or something like that, and we receive artists. So we'll have artists, come to our stage, whatever it may be. If I'm in California doing Bottle Rock, or you're in Maine, so we know how artists and artist teams can be. We understand people being tired. We understand people being short-staffed, all of those things. And knowing that side, and knowing that when that artist bus rolls away at the end of the night, and you say, wow, that Ariana Grande, that was a tough show. That was a terrible crew. Not saying that Ari's crew is bad. I'm just as an example. And so it's unfortunate, because what you put on that artist is their crew that represented them. We never come in contact with the artist. Us as production people on a festival or something like that, we don't come in contact with them. But what you say in your brain is like, wow, that was a tough situation. And so when we are on the other side of that, and we're the exact mirror of it, I should speak for myself, I would never want someone to walk away and say, wow, Sia's crew is awful, or Demi's crew is awful, or any of them. Like, I wouldn't want them to say that. So I really really strive to have a professional relationship with everyone that's on the flip side. It's the shaking hands at the end of the night. It's a please. It's a thank you. It's listening. It's understanding their side of whatever they're presenting. And really,
it's laying on the ground next to him, side stage, encore break, telling him you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
Got to do it. Come on.
I think you're just really conscious of it, because it's true. I mean, I work a house gig back home. We're a working rock theater 2,500 cap that does 130 shows a year, and you're absolutely, we're guilty of it back home here too. Like, you can blame the crew for it when you are able to blame the crew. I guess it doesn't matter if the artist was amazing, if the show is incredible and the best lighting show I've ever seen. If the crew sucked, that artist can, they can go somewhere. Like, I'll take the blame for it too. If you're with a bad crew and you have people who are just total dicks, like, you're just like, you're walking out of there with the crew going, God, please leave. They're tapping at the door, and you guys still showering, they're still just like, get out of here. You have to leave.
You guys are full of stories.
It's really, yeah. I mean, there are obviously a lot of stories, and a little side note. I mean, just to tidy up this portion of what we're chatting about, I was asked by Lidditz and Rock Lidditz, the team out there, to join their career day last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. And it was chatting, something like 400 guests, students, college students and stuff like that, it's a virtual career day via Zoom, and since out there in Lidditz, Rock Lidditz, and Tate Towers, and Claire, and all these big production companies that are out there, they're all have representatives, and Rock Lidditz had asked me to represent as a production manager and present to the students, and then go off on a side chat, and then speak with students one-on-one. And I did. So, we're big 2-3 hour session of speaking and having students speak and questions and back and forth. And so I'm in a breakout room via Zoom, and I'm talking to, I think it's maybe 6 or 8 students just individually who wanted to speak specific to a production manager, and have production manager questions. And so they're shooting me with all sorts of stuff. I mean, everything from, logistics and budgeting and all of these things. And there was this young lady who says, I have a question. And she says, I work in theater in my college, in my university, And I'm really interested in going into live music and production as either production manager, stage manager. It's something I really have a passion for. She says, but I hear and I see so much negativity in the crew and the people that tour in the music industry. She goes, why are they so negative? And I was like,
Yeah, wow.
I literally, I was just taking, and because that's like someone putting a mirror right in your face. And I said, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, you know? And I've really, and I know Lenny will echo this, is really trying to turn that beast around and have a positive outlook and be, especially now, be thankful for what you have out there, because all of us are sitting at home on our butts wishing we had a gig, you know? So we all complain when we do have a gig, and now we're really complaining when we don't have a gig, you know? So I really, really don't want that image of the industry to be out there, because it is, you know, the cranky roadie kind of vibe is out there, and it just kind of, it's this ugly line that runs through the industry. And I would one person at a time, one venue at a time, one promoter rep at a time, I would like to change that perception and let them know that these guys right here, the extended crew, there's many more of us. We walk into a venue, we want to be positive, we want to have an open, honest conversation. We want to be able to make this show happen, and we want to do this, and we want to do it, and we want to be positive doing it. Right, Lynn? I mean, that's what I told her. It's like, I am literally trying to make that change, and all I could do is just change with myself.
And then you said, all right, got it.
All right, now you're done.
Any more questions?
You're fired. No. But right, Len? I mean, isn't that
No, absolutely. Look, guys, it's a rough and tumble job. That's how all this got started 30 years ago. These guys had nicknames like Chainsaw. And literally, there's a guy named Chainsaw. I mean, it was a rough and tumble world, and people got into the business because they didn't want to be told what to do. That's when they went out and they traveled like gypsies, and they were with a band. And this is why they got into the business, because they didn't want to conform. They were nonconformists. So I got out there where they could party, do what they want, get on down the road and do it again in the next town. So it is getting more gentrified, as you can say. But I would have to ask that young lady, where did you get your information from? You know, who told you this, or did you read this in Rolling Stone, or have you experienced it yourself? And was it?
I think she had worked at a local venue. I think it was a local venue club kind of thing. You know, and she's
a runner. She's like anybody that does these where they're back in the dressing room with the people, just like, God, you guys are miserable.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
No,
and I think there's also like a big difference, even just from the experience I have having like worked with the small artists that I've worked with and booking them, booking shows for them in small, clubs and stuff. Like, I think there's a, and I mean I'm sure there's like some of the same things going on, but I think there's at least for me, I think there's a difference between like doing something in a smaller. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, 'cause I'm just, like I don't know. Like the crews are all. I guess because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, heck, whether it doesn't matter the size of the venue. Like you have people like that all over. I guess what I'm trying to say is like. I just feel, I guess, like I don't know, I just have this perception that there might not be as much of that with like people who do bigger productions, who travel, and
I agree with that.
You're exactly right.
I do agree with
the budget is there where you could staff it, and sometimes even overstaff it. You can have spares rolling around with you, and if one doesn't work and somebody falls off, you're still covered. And that's
like I mean, and I'm not to say like these big superstar artists have it all together, but because I know, but when I think about like the smaller acts, that are like trying like trying to make a name for themselves. Like I understand that they can be truly a headache sometimes when it comes to you know, preparation, because like even one of the artists that I've worked with like was a headache for me. Like in me, I'm constantly on the phone or emailing the venue and trying to make sure this is taken care of, and going back to the artist and relaying that message like, hey, you need this, or they need that. They need this from you in order to do this and all that other kind of stuff. So,
what you need to do is like you almost need to you need to take the artist and the popularity and all of that stuff, and you need to be able to set it aside, compartmentalize it, and you have to. I know for me personally, I won't speak for everybody else, but for me, I'm a humble guy. Like I'm not Mr. Social Media crazy. I'm not whatever. I use the same attitude with Sia, and with that I did with my very first artist that I was with. Where I'm able to just put everything aside and just be a normal, a personable guy, and be able to navigate kind of in your own way, and be able to know that, I mean, nobody likes a Mr. Know-it-all. I mean, when people are dealing with crew people, you could be the smartest guy in the world, but again, it goes back to the communication thing. I mean, you have to know when it's right to say something, when it's not right to say something, where all of your skills that you think you're able to kind of like put a break on for a second and check yourself to be like, wait, do I really know? And that's where that true kind of humbleness comes from, where you are able to just swallow and be like, and willing to listen to the people next to you and all these things. So that's where I feel like the negativity from a lot of crew people. I mean, it's such an interesting career that it's not built for everybody. I mean, it's like what you said, Lenny. I mean, it's a career that a lot of people fall into that quickly realize they're not made for it, but they're too proud to be able to kind of like turn around and be like, well, I used to do rock and roll, but I do this now, which there's no shame in it, but they don't even know how to tell shame. Like they just
true.
I don't know.
So brilliantly said, Adam. Exactly, man. And then I'm kind of concerned with the generation coming up that thinks everybody gets a trophy. Guess what? There's no trophies out here, man.
There's no trophies.
Yes.
There's no trophies. That trophy is that pizza on the bus. You're after show.
Trophy's 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Did you get a clean towel? You got a clean towel
Seriously.
to shower with? There's your trophy. It's like
it's hard work. Every one of these guys will agree. It's hard work, and don't think that you're going to get a pat on the back, that quote unquote trophy, that thank you from anyone at any given time. All you can do is, toast each other at the bar at the end of the night, hopefully, and say, hey, we got through that one, and that's about the extent of it, and you move on literally to the next one, because a few hours later that load-in's coming. So it's work. It's very, very, very hard work, physically, mentally, emotionally, especially emotionally, and it'll get you.
But it's very true that every show you do, you are putting an impression on the people in the city that you were in and all this stuff, and you just never know. And I tell people all the time, like, when they say, how do you do it night after night, and how do you, it's like again, going back to that kind of humble attitude, you have to realize that every single night, whether you've done it for 5 nights in a row, and this is like you're getting to a part of the show or you're working out something and it's still not working, whatever, but the audience doesn't know any of this stuff. They are just there seeing it for the first time. So you have to be able to just, again, swallow that, whatever it is, and just be like, it's not about me in these moments, but it kind of is, and kind of like it's depending on us, but it's not about us. And that's a weird trip, man. I mean, we've all seen crew members of our own who have come and gone, who are just guys that can't get over the fact that, like, dude, it's just not about you. Like, Amen. You play an important role, but it has nothing to do with you.
God, I wish I had said Brilliant.
That is where us on this video chat, that's where we all come in with each other.
That's right.
Like,
That's exactly.
I can leave the show and I know the audience might not even know, or this guy might not even know, but I can sit down in Javier's production office at the end of the night and he'll kind of just sit there and look over and be like, that was a good one tonight. And it's just like, yes. Like, I don't need to go tweet about it. I just want to know, like, for me internally, what I care about and what will eat away at my brain for the next 24 hours until the next one, that, like, yeah, we did it. That was a success, and everybody's happy, and we're good. And it means.
And I would say, you know, on this call, and again, you know, I come back to TC and his chair, and we're in his job position, because again, I've been there. There is no one else in that audience that knows anything about what is going on in his world. You know, him doing monitors for an artist. I mean, Adam, you're out at front of house. Lenny, you're making stage movements, stuff's moving, curtains are coming in, stuff's happening on time and all that. But TC's just back there and just doing the grind and not getting a word from anyone. We don't even hear what he does. we barely see what he does, you know? And so really being able to have self-confidence and self-reassurance and being able to know that
and selflessness.
And what I am doing is up to my own personal standards. Yes. You know, that is good enough, not just for the people that are on stage that I'm trying to work for, but are as good enough for me personally. Right, T? Like,
I mean, if I'm not pulling my weight, then it really does affect the show.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So the performance is going to suffer for sure.
Yeah. One of the most important jobs out there. Absolutely. Because if it really, it's the first step outside of the artist performance is that monitor engineer. You know, that's that first step, because if they, especially nowadays, you know, with in-ear monitors and whatnot, but you know, TC's kind of setting the pace for the night in terms of the crew, because, you know, if it's a bad monitor night, which we've all experienced, ooh, you know, that artist is going to be snapping at Lenny, you know, at Lenny on a quick change and going, what the F is going on, blah, 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 blah. And then that can throw him off. It could throw the band off. They could have a bad performance, missing cues, hitting wrong notes. Therefore, it sounds bad in the audience for Adam. So again, you know, a position like TC's is so key, yet no one knows. No one.
It is absolutely the
never know. Yeah.
It's the most underappreciated,
most
knowledgeable,
yes.
most important, absolutely, and the most selfless gig, because truly people don't know. They know what it's like. Oh, you do the sound. Well, what I hear, yeah, okay, audience member, sure, but they have no. Wait, the band isn't like listening with like the speakers turned around, so they just hear the like. No, it's a whole world. It's a universe that you don't even have permission to go into. Like you are. But truly, I mean, without getting too specific, Javier, I remember being in Seattle. Lenny, you were there too, a couple of years ago. And I mean, I don't really want to get too specific, but I will say, for the sake of the story, that we were out at front of house, and I think you were out there with me, Javier, and the artist just started getting all mad and real mad, throwing stuff and, you know, and just spitting and doing other stuff and just things that we were like, what is happening? Wow. And the whole time the monitor mix had just been obliterated. I mean, this person was having a incredibly difficult time performing the show, and it happened without. Again, it's something you don't hear what they are hearing up there, and I mean, the show was a disaster. I mean, it was an absolute disaster, and the crowd couldn't have had any idea. You know what I mean? I mean, it was one of those things that, I mean, nothing else that you saw, if you just walked in, you would have no idea why. But it really spiraled into something a greater conversation and I mean, just there was way more to dissect there than just like, well, you know, some nights it's just like, no, it was a very, like, it turned into a multi-week and month discussion of how to fix the things. And so, you know, and it's not so much about the conversations, but just the fact that it's just part of the puzzle pieces again. Like, everybody just has to play their part. And unfortunately, with someone like TC, I mean, you have to be in it for the right
for the artist. If they're not,
yeah,
then we get blamed. I can tell you a story. He won't mind me telling it. So I was working for Meatloaf, and one night
he's gonna welcome any talk about him at this point.
He's just
Meatloaf's like, they're talking about me.
He's out there and he's just struggling, and so he's like, and usually, we would just like. It was easy, always easy. I was with him for so long, and he's just started looking over at me, and he's like, kind of giving me like the what the fuck and all this stuff, and I'm like, geez, what is going on, And so I was all worked up, man. I was like, what is going on? Like, this isn't good, So as soon as the show ended, I muted the board, and I walked straight to the dressing room, and I go in there, and I go, first of all, it ain't cool to call someone out from the stage, Yeah. So I go into his dressing room and I go, hey, what, are you mad at me? He goes, what are you talking about? I go, you motherfucked me from the stage. What are you doing? That ain't cool. And he goes, oh, no. I was having a hard time tonight. He goes, it can't be my fault. I was like, what? He goes, no, everything's cool. Everything's cool. You're doing a great job. He goes, I was just having a hard night. I was like, man.
That's a seasoned professional to know that, yes. Hey, I'm going to blame the monitors.
Yes.
And everyone who writes a review is going, Meatloaf, great show, terrible monitor mix.
Monitor mix ruins show.
Yeah.
Tim Coakley, comment?
It's true though, man.
Tell me,
but TC, you gotta tell the other part of it, dude. You got to tell the other part of it. What do you mean? What's that? When he comes off and he's laying on the ground wanting oxygen. Come on, tell it.
Oh yeah. Every night.
I'll sit back for this one.
He would come. He's a big guy, and he would put it all out there, man. I mean, when I first started with him, he was doing 3 hours, and he would come off for the encore, and he would flop on the ground, and we would always have an EMT with oxygen ready, and I think they just thought it was cool to be on the side of the stage. Like, how many EMTs get a call to just bring oxygen to a concert, And so we're just this EMT always. It was like they'd just be sitting there, and then he would flounder on the ground, and they would be like. They would really think that there was something wrong, and really he was just that was just his routine. Like, he would just fall on the ground, and he would just roll around, soaking wet with sweat. And sometimes I would just get down and lay next to him and just talk to him. Hey, so are we doing another song or what?
I can't do it, T.
I can't do it, T. Rolling around. Would you roll around with him?
The tank, don't you?
CC, you said you always used to just go and step over him.
And then, once in a while, I would just step over him, and the EMT would be freaking out and just go, let's go, buddy. I mean, come on, time's money.
The first time you told me that story, TC says, I'm laying on the ground next to him, just like him, and I look over at him, I'm like, we gonna do this or what, pal?
Okay.
So good.
Funny. That is super funny. I gotta say, you guys have been awesome. It's different. It's different having everybody on camera, all of us having this conversation. I only turned mine off because of my internet. So, but definitely awesome. Getting to talk to all of you guys at the same time. I can only imagine what it's like being in person, which I'll be looking forward to that day for sure. So hopefully it's not too far off. Seriously.
We look forward to it.
Yeah.
Tell you, when we make our way over there, we're going to get you there. We're going to get you. You're going to turn up in the morning, do it from start to finish with us.
Yeah,
Breakfast,
yeah.
drive-through, all
Oh,
the way
hey,
home.
hey, I am down for that. I haven't done
Bring
that
your
in so
gloves.
long since I rolled with Jeff, and I tell you, those are some good times, man. It's I love the grind.
Hmm.
I love the moments when it's all said and done. It's all over. Yeah, you had a good show, and you look back and because it's hard work during the day. It's tiring, but when it's all done, and you're like, man, that was worth it. I would do that again.
Well, yeah, because you do it again, and you
Right.
do it again and again and again. But
And
it
it
is.
has to
It's
be
Now
worth
It's
it.
just it's
it
just
has
like
to be
this
worth
show.
it. It has to
It's
be worth
just
it.
like this show.
6 hours
as
from
Len-
now, we're going to be doing this again, right? So bring two
Right.
pair of shoes.
as Lenny tells the youngins that come in on the crew, he's like, never, ever, ever get your paycheck and do the math on the hours that you work. He goes, because you will be disappointed.
Do you remember that, Javier?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll do a 40-hour week within the first 2 days.
We got a young guy out with us. Good kid, man. Really wants it. I really respect him. And we're 2 weeks in at this point, right, Javier? We go somewhere we're sitting there. It's like, what do you guys want? It's like, I don't care. Just Javier's like, let's go get ramen. So we're sitting there in a booth, and it's one of these long days and this and that. And we're just quiet. And I look over at this kid and I go, you do the math yet? It's like,
Yeah.
I was like, we're 60 hours in, dude. You're making $4 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this.
Oh, yeah.
God.
That is too
Yeah.
funny.
I was like, you're in. You're finishing this thing, man. We're doing this. You're going to be here to the end. It's like,
Yeah.
$4 an
Okay.
hour.
Don't do the math.
Yeah.
Don't do the math.